Hey, welcome to Don't Fear the Podcast, guys. We are so glad to have you here today. Today's a very special show because I know that me and Luke, we love independent horror. Today we are talking about the upcoming independent horror film called Fang. Fang is about, after getting bitten by a rat in his apartment, an autistic janitor starts to believe he's transforming into a giant rat himself. Sounds very Kafkaesque. I can't wait to hear more about it. So first of all, before we introduce our special guests, I want to introduce my cohort in crime on this particular episode. Cheeseman on the couch. Welcome.
Hey, what's up? It's Cheeseman here. Hope you've been watching some of our other shows, and I'm here with scareguy.com, our website.
Yes,
also linked here with the podcast.
So Richard Burgin is the director of this film. He's a Chicago-based filmmaker. Richard Burgin is the director of this film. He is a Chicago-based filmmaker and screenwriter who describes himself as somewhere between a creative visionary or insane. Aren't we all?
Well, that was the best description I could come up with. I think it kind of captures the essence of my personality in one sentence.
I think that's awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thank you.
We also have two of the actors from the film. First up, we have Jess Paul. She is an American actor and producer known for the award-winning short Funny Man, REVRY.TV's Promenade, and 2014 official Sundance Film Festival selection, The Immaculate Reception. She has a big YouTube audience. She does a whole lot of stuff. We're going to let her kind of fill us in.
It's a YouTube audience. I wouldn't call it big, but I love them all the same.
They're very special. They're very special.
She's got a great background for the YouTube.
I know. You got like the.
We could talk about that history, yeah.
A cool booth there. That looks awesome. And of course, we also have DYLAN LARAY. Am I saying your last name correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. DYLAN LARAY, he's an actor of stage and screen. He attended the University of Arizona, where he earned a degree in theater arts and Italian studies, which is interesting. We'll ask you about that in just a second. Before moving to Chicago, where he landed his first major role in this film, Fang, coming out, fingers crossed, this year. 2020 hasn't been so kind to film. Anyways, Fang, it's the independent horror film featuring cult film star Lynn Lowry. I'm going to ask you guys about that in a second. And Dylan has just recently moved out here to Los Angeles. I think and Jess, you're out here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And Richard, you're on vacation. You're very close. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm the only one who's not in LA. We could be having this in person if it wasn't for me.
Or COVID, whatever.
He's got the nice air right now.
I got the good air. I'll try to give you guys some of my air here in Colorado.
Oh, Colorado.
Yeah, we here in California the entire state is on fire right now. Last I heard it was like 67 fires burning across.
Holy shit, that's
Geez. So, what's it like, Dylan, where you're at?
Very smoky, very gray. It's like walking through a sepia filter on Instagram or something. I went on a run today and I got back and I felt like I was choking, like I had just smoked like 10 cigarettes. It was horrible.
Oh my God.
He's not endorsing running right now.
Yeah,
it was a bad idea.
So, Dylan, you are right outside Los Angeles. You're in a place called Woodland Hills, which is like 15, 20 minutes up the road. So that's why I was asking what the air quality is like where you're at. Jess, you're closer in here to LA proper?
I'm in the Valley.
You're in there's probably a lot of smoke over there, you think?
Yeah, very similar to what Dylan said. I noticed yesterday that I could look directly into the sun, and there was enough haze in front of it that we could hold eye contact, and that's not good. It honestly, it's really deceiving because it's very warm colored. Like it feels like autumn because there's such a sepia tone, as Dylan said, over the whole place. But it's toxic. Like it's very dichotomous and scary.
It's kind of like here in LA right now. It's like going out during the first parts of The Wizard of Oz, and we are waiting until we get over the rainbow so everything lights up.
Oh my God, that's so true.
That's on point.
So, Richard, how are you a lifelong Chicago resident?
Well, I grew up in the region. I grew up in the city of right outside the city of St. Louis, Missouri, which is right across the Mississippi River from Illinois. And then for a year and a half, I lived with my mother in Florida. And then I decided to move back to the Midwest because, I figured, Chicago, like Illinois, this part of the country is my home. This is where I have most of my friends. This is where I'm supposed to live. But I set Fang in that kind of that region because that's, like growing up, in the Midwest. I don't know how much experience you guys have with
I'm from
Midwest.
Rockford, Illinois, right? I'm north of Illinois.
Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio for me.
We're both Midwest.
So you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in the Midwest, there are a lot of, cities that, like in the early 20th century, there was a big population boom when all these immigrants came in from Europe. They wanted to work at these, factories like steel mills and, like making cars in Detroit and meat packing in Chicago. And then when those industrial jobs went away, then there was a lot of abandonment. A lot of people left those cities. And so that backdrop was very influential for Fang because I was very kind of influenced by kind of those grimy, abandoned industrial environments. And I thought, that would be a great setting for a horror movie because it's very gothic, but it's gothic in a very unconventional way, Well,
let's talk about that for a second. Tell us a little bit about Fang, because we don't know anything about the film. Let's not give away any big secrets.
What is killing us?
Yeah, I want to hear about it. What's Fang about?
Yeah, so Fang is the story of Billy Cochran. He is a 23-year-old janitor who lives with his mother, Gina, and they're this kind of, well, they would be a working class family, except she's not working anymore because she has Parkinson's. And at the beginning of the movie, we discover that she needs 24/7 care, and Billy, will have to keep working as a janitor in order to help support his family. So he has this kind of this very tough family situation. And even if he didn't have all these problems at home, Billy has autism. He has undiagnosed autism, so he struggles socially when he's not at home too. So he has all these issues going on. And then one night when he wakes up, in the middle of the night, he can't sleep. It's he's very stressed out. He has a lot going on. And then, so one night he wakes up, he goes to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and then boom, there's this rat. This rat comes out, and it chases him around the house, and then it bites him. And so that's when it all starts to unravel for Billy. And he starts seeing this rat fur on his arm, and he's thinking, well, what is this? Why am I suddenly growing rat fur? And he starts to realize this very unfortunate thing is that he's turning into a rat, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know if it's really happening. And I can't say anything else because I don't want to give anything else away.
All right. So does it have a little element of The Fly to it? Because he got
it is a little bit like that. Yeah, it's like kind of with it, and I think The Fly is also a good comparison because Fang is very rooted in the characters' relationships to one another. That's what really drives the plot, along with the transformation into the rat.
Now, what inspired the story?
Well, it was inspired by various life experiences that I've had, and it's one of those things where, like, people read the script and they're saying how did you come up with this? Who are these people? These must be based on people, and I'm like, yeah, they are. So the main plot was inspired by my relationship with my dad, because he, like Billy's mother Gina, he also has Parkinson's. So I've been kind of like, ever since I was a freshman in high school, his mental and physical health has been deteriorating. That's been, it's been hard to cope with that, that lack of parental guidance when you're trying to figure things out. And the character of Billy is partly inspired by me. I have high functioning Asperger's. I'm not anywhere near as extreme or violent as Billy, because he really does unravel in this movie. But I'm like, I can identify with him a lot. I think I'm like a milder version, milder and saner sometimes.
I can ask a question just for benefit of the audience, and then I want to jump in with Dylan and Jess and talk about your parts. Richard, if you don't mind me asking, for those who are unfamiliar, when you say high-functioning Asperger's, what exactly does that mean? And is that something that hindered or helped you in the production of this film?
Well, that is a good question. So it's like, with autism, it's like there are many different levels of it. And then if you look at, the most like extreme autistic people, it's like they can't even talk, they're the vegetables. They need like, they're incapacitated. They need like a guardian at all times, basically, and they can like violently, bash their heads to walls. So that is the most extreme form of autism. And then what I have is the mildest form of autism, which is very like, it's one of those things where a lot of the time, I can pass for being like normal, relatively normal.
Maybe not after everybody sees Fang. Everybody will be like,
probably not
about that.
Well, that's interesting. Did you? No, I think I said Asperger's. That's the wrong word, correct?
That's what I would identify as. Now, Billy, I would say, is more extreme than me. He's definitely like, I'm pretty socially aware most of the time, and then sometimes I say something, I'm like, why the fuck did I say that?
No, everybody does that, Richard. That's a that's a very human thing.
I think that's a very interesting premise. Somebody with high functioning autism or Asperger's syndrome having to face the terrors of turning it. That's really.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you really like the premise.
I like that. Let's go with Jess first. So Jess, tell us a little bit about your part in the film.
Okay, so I play Myra, and she is the very sympathetic character. I think that if you really do think about it, and everybody that's unraveling in the movie, my character is the lens into the craziness. At least that's how I kind of pictured it. So because, Gina and Billy, this is their story, but then you get somebody outside of the immediate circle who is trying to help and fix what's going on, but has no idea how and is definitely not qualified to, and kind of see maybe what you would do in this situation. Mm-hmm. Or maybe what you wouldn't do, depending on what you think of Myra's decisions. You
kind of say, it seems like you're the audience. You are the audience looking at this crazy situation and trying to you're our venue into it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm the little glasses that helps you kind of understand what's going on in this house.
And we're going to ask you about your cool setup you got there in just a second. But Dylan,
yes.
And so I guess you're Billy?
I am Billy, yes.
Yeah, let's hear about that. How was that? And tell us about your character a little bit.
So when I first read the script, I talked to Richard about it, and I expressed an immediate concern regarding the fact that Billy has autism, because I was concerned that my performance might be read as insensitive since I do not have autism.
Right.
And Richard's response was, well, I have autism. I wrote the script from my perspective, and I'm casting you to play the part. And with that in mind, I looked at the script, and I fell in love with it right away when I read it beginning to end. And what I noticed is that he had written into the script his experiences. So anything that Billy does physically, or his perception of a social situation, or how people perceive him, it's very much written into the script and into the pauses and into the way that Billy responds to things, which was really great because I did a lot of research on people with autism and autism itself. And, Richard had pretty much written it all out for me. And so I felt like it was my job then to just play the script as honestly and truthfully as I could. And I feel like it really came through, at least from what I've seen so far. I haven't seen the whole film yet. I'm so excited to.
Wow.
I have seen it in various stages of the edit, and I'm pretty pleased overall. I mean, it's always one of those things where, when you're making it, you want to, there's always this tension over how is this going to live up to what I envision in my head, and it never is exactly what you envision, but what it's turned out to be is, I think, it's really compelling. Each time I watch it, it's mesmerizing.
Nice.
Oh, that's great to hear, man.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love it.
Can't wait. Now, preparing for that character, Dylan, you were talking about you did some research and all that. Like, what particular research, or were there different films that you've seen from the past? Like, what did you use for inspiration more directly?
So I started to look at a couple films that portrayed people with autism, or I was preparing to, and then I backed off of that because what I had realized was, although there were a lot of movies out there that have characters with autism, very few of them are written by somebody with autism. And it's kind of the actors who end up deciding how that character is going to be portrayed. Like they decide whether or not they're super high functioning or lower high function or less high functioning. And I didn't want to come across as a caricature. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to do too much. I didn't want to, like there's Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman. I don't remember if he had Down syndrome or autism in that film because it's been a long time since I've seen it. But I didn't want to do like a caricature. So I really wanted to just focus on Richard's script after doing that initial research. Like I read some articles, some scientific journals. I kind of read what it does to someone. And again, I just went back to the script because I saw that Richard had already put it in there. Which was wonderful. So I only had to do this much to understand it, and the script gave me everything I needed.
Nice.
Now you kind of had almost
I made your job easier. What can I say?
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Dylan.
Now you almost so you started transforming kind of slowly into a rat. Now, how did you incorporate that into the performance? Yeah,
so there's a lot of scenes where Billy is panicking, having a meltdown, or just, he's scared, he's frightened, paranoid. And I feel like there are several scenes where I really kind of improvised how he was going to behave in a certain moment as he was melting down, as he was panicking. And we tried to incorporate some rat-like behaviors into these moments of panic and meltdown where his behavior moved from less human to more animalistic. And I find that it's definitely a progression. Like, it's not present at the beginning of the film. He becomes more and more animalistic as time goes on. But there's something in the middle where it's animalistic, but it's also like a human having a meltdown. So it kind of stays in that middle ground of, it stays kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Vague. It stays vague. Like, is he transforming or isn't he? There's a sense of paranoia there, kind of like Black Swan, where is she, isn't she? You're not really 100% sure.
Right. I was going to ask about that, but I don't really want you to tell us if it's real or not, because that'll kind of ruin the film for me. And I really want to watch it. Hey, Jess, let me ask you, you've been in quite a few productions. I was looking at your page over here. And if I can ask, what was it like? It's kind of very refreshing. Richard's very open. He says, hey, I'm high performing Asperger's. What was it like working with him as a director?
I mean, it was the exact same experience you'd ever ask for from a director. But then you have, we've had so many great conversations being on set and talking about the days of filming and what the story really wanted to convey, that it was kind of like Dylan was saying, you got this really personal look into his life, and he was able to translate that to us. Again, the script was so well laid out for me as well. When I was trying to understand what this story was about, it was incredibly easy to understand the message and what we want to speak to the audience.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. Hey, can I ask a question? Like, hey, Richard, in your opinion, was there, she was talking about the message. Is there something you want the audience to walk away from after seeing this film?
Well, I honestly, I didn't write it with a particular message in mind. I was just thinking of, I want to tell the story of these characters and the transformations they go through. But I think that whatever the message is what you bring to the table when you watch it. I try to keep it kind of ambiguous enough about what it all means so that people, you can draw your own meaning from it, from your life and how you perceive what's going on in this movie. That would be my take on it. I could say what I think it means, but that may be very different than what you guys think.
Hey, when did you guys film?
We filmed in January and February.
In Chicago?
Chicago.
That must have been pretty warm.
Add in a little pause for full impact.
I'm from, like I say, I'm from the area. I'm from actually 90 miles northeast of Chicago.
Whoa.
It's cold up there. I remember
your pain.
It would snow around Thanksgiving, and then we wouldn't see the ground again until like March. That was fun. Are you?
Pittsburgh is like that too.
Jess and Dylan, are you guys both? Where are you guys from?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Arizona, actually.
Oh, so you've never seen snow like that, right?
So I'm from northern Arizona, so I actually saw more snow because I was up in the mountains in Flagstaff.
Oh yeah.
For high school, so I actually had more snow there than I did in Chicago.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's cool. Can I ask you guys, Jess first, if you had to pick like maybe one of your most challenging days on set and one of your favorite days on set, just if you don't have to say what happened, let's just kind of like talk about like what were some of the challenges of doing a winter shoot in Chicago, and maybe one of the most rewarding parts of that. And Dylan, we're going to ask you exactly the same question.
I mean, I've talked about this publicly, like kind of the day where set just fell apart. Can I talk about that? I think I actually talked about it on YouTube a little bit, but it just kind of speaks to filmmaking as this living, breathing, every single day something different, new challenge kind of process. It's not an office job. You don't get into filmmaking to go to a 9 to 5 where everything is relatively the same. Every single day on a set has some new story about it. And there was one day where I think it was Lynn's first or second day. And at that point, the heat generator had completely cut out. Like we were using space heaters, but I don't think we could even, like there was no electricity. So we were in the dark with flashlights. And then, at one point, the TV just started smoking. Like we don't actually know what happened, but it just started smoking. And we're like, we gotta do something about this. So we basically, at some point, just kind of said, we can't be here anymore, and we moved ship to a completely different location and filmed 70%, maybe 60% in a different location. Yeah. So that kind of by default, I guess, was the most challenging day, just because I don't think we filmed anything. We just kind of all just watched everything fall apart. And then the most rewarding day. The crafty
was amazing that day. I will tell you that.
God, the most rewarding day.
Or one of them.
Yeah, because there were so many, to be honest. Like every single scene that we would do with each other was a new experience. We can talk about working with Lynn, because that was just so incredibly cool.
Can we talk because I saw Dylan, you put with legendary cult actor. I'm sorry, what's his name again? It just slipped my mind.
It's Lynn Lowry.
Yeah, can we talk about working with him?
Her.
Oh, as you can tell, I'm so prepared. No, cut that part out. Can we talk about working with Lynn?
Yeah, sure. So Lynn Lowry, she has a wonderful resume, an extensive resume, and the two biggest credits that I know her for, that I knew her for before shooting, it was David Cronenberg's Shivers. So she worked with David Cronenberg on Shivers. She plays Nurse Forsyth. And then she also worked with George A. Romero on The Crazies, where she played Kathy. And ever since then, she's just made an entire career out of working on these cult horror films. And she's always just kind of wonderful in everything she does. And Cat People, that's the other one she did. She did Cat People. And what was that?
It's called Cat
People. She was in Cat People?
Yeah, Cat People.
She was. She
I remember. There was the old one, and then there's the redo. Do you know which one she was in?
Oh, 1980s. That's all I know.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. So
82.
82. Yeah. So she was. I believe she played a prostitute. The character had a name though. I can't remember the character's name.
Ruthie.
That's right. Yeah, she played Ruthie, and. Yeah, so as you can tell, she's had this wonderful long career in cult horror films, like very specifically cult horror films. And
The Vampire Who Saved Christmas, she was in that. Nice.
Yeah, all kinds of things. She has like over 100 credits.
Wow.
And working with her is just amazing. I remember the first day she got to set, we had a really difficult scene right off the bat. I'm not going to tell you the contents of the scene. That would be a spoiler. But we started in this really difficult scene. And I remember the first take, her eyes just hit me. And I was mesmerized. I was glued and I was terrified. I sat there. And for the first time in that entire film process, I got an idea of just how horrific Billy's life really was. Because Lynn was just bringing it that first day. And from then on, she was just a delight. She was absolutely wonderful to work with, and she can be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I was going to say that I heard backstage when we were filming it that some of the crew said they were afraid of her, and she was like, this. So she's a great actress. She's like this 70-year-old lady, and she's striking fear into the hearts of everyone. Everyone around her, but she did an amazing job.
Can I ask you guys, how did you all, Jess and Dylan, did you see a casting call? Did you audition? Did you happen to know people who knew Richard, or how did you guys get involved in the film?
Richard and I crossed paths on Facebook. There's such a big community of filmmakers out there in the country, and we're getting so global now that you can, construct a crew and a cast from people all over America. And so when Richard and I saw each other's material, we were like, I want to work together. And so, Richard contacted me and asked me if I could audition, read the script and everything. And I loved it so much.
Nice. What about you, Dylan?
I found a casting call on Backstage Magazine. That's what I used to find all of my gigs for the most part. And Richard and I were working. I was working with Richard over Backstage. I sent him one audition, and then I sent him a second audition tape, and then we were talking back and forth for a long time. And I think it was about a month later I finally got cast, which was awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. Now, can you tell us a little bit? Are there special effects? Are they practical effects? Like, what kind of stuff for the horror fans is happening?
They will not be disappointed.
Oh yeah,
anything graphic?
It's a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath for its own right.
Really?
We had some very intense gore, and the makeup for the rat looks really cool, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, we actually had a wonderful professional makeup and special effects artist come in from Las Vegas. Her name is Caitlin Young, and she was just awesome. She was so cool. I spent a lot of hours with her sitting in a chair getting makeup applied to me.
Yeah, how many hours for makeup?
I think the longest it took, maybe 3 hours was the biggest piece of makeup special effects that was applied to my body. Wow. And that doesn't include, blood spurts and stuff like that she was working on. There were times that she was working overnight to get a special effect ready to put on my body. So for me, it was only 3 hours. For her, we're talking like 12 to 16 hours of work. And I think she had mentioned this one story where she had this giant piece of, rat fur that she was making. And overnight in Chicago, it froze the glue and all the fur fell off because it froze and broke. And she had to start over at like 10 p.m.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I remember that now that you mention it somehow. I guess I had blocked it out of my mind until now. But yeah, that happened.
Yeah, she was a superstar.
So you didn't sleep with the makeup on like some people do? They're like, I don't want to go through this again tomorrow. I'm just going to sleep looking like a rat.
Who does that?
I've never done that.
With our makeup, that would not be an option. I don't think anybody wants to sleep looking like a rat.
No.
I stayed the night in a haunted house. That was cool. That was probably the most exhausted I'd been. We were filming overnight in a haunted house, and I was too tired to go all the way back into the city, and so I just stayed where I was and fell asleep on an air mattress.
Wait, can we, during the production of this film, you stayed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you say attraction or an actual spiritually haunted house?
Well, we filmed at the Hell's Gate haunted house, which was, a lot of our crew also worked there during the fall season when, they do the haunted house.
Yeah, that's one of the better known haunted attractions up there in the Midwest.
Absolutely, yeah. So we filmed the factory scenes, like where Billy is at work there in their warehouse on the edge of the haunted house. I wish I had known that we would have access to a haunted house when I wrote the script, because I would have tried to write that into it, but we still did get to film in a haunted house. So either way, that's pretty cool.
Now, how much blood do you think was used in the making of this film?
Couple gallons.
Fake blood.
Yeah, it's definitely, you could fill a couple of cartons.
All right. So it's a good one. It's a juicy one.
Just so people can get ready, where are they going to be able to see this film? Do you know, or when is it going to be available? Anything you can tell us? Any kind of hints?
Well, after the movie is done, which should be in the very near future, I'm going to get a distribution deal for it, and I would love for it to get a theatrical release. I would love for the people all over the world, to see it on the big screen, but I realize that in this day and age, that doesn't usually happen for indie films.
Especially 2020.
Especially 2020. Yeah, 2019 too. We've really been moving toward, more stuff going to streaming, more stuff being watched at home. So realistically, Fang will most likely go to a streaming service, and hopefully we'll get like a DVD and a Blu-ray release as well, so people will be able to watch it at home. Although
that's where all of us
are making any less disturbing, because your home will be invaded by this horror that the characters are
feeling of rats.
There's a possibility about drive-in movies too, because they've been kind of like the saving force between films this past 6 months. Is drive-in?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It is my dream to see a movie of mine in a drive-in. I would love to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, it might be Fang. You never know.
So, like, because you guys are kind of spread out, is there any thought about like having even a virtual premiere or any kind of premiere that Jim and Luke could be invited to?
Well, we do have a premiere scheduled. Oh yeah. I want to make sure that the movie is done in time before the premiere, so I don't want to publicly reveal the date yet.
Oh, okay.
Always going to have the movie done before you premiere it. Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to get the movie done first, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love to have you guys come. That would be great. Have everybody, have a big Fang reunion.
Right. I mean, I was planning on it if the world didn't shut down.
No, of course.
And I will say, if you are,
you never know.
Yeah.
I will say that if you are looking for updates, Fang does have a Facebook page as well as an IMDb page. Richard, would you like to tell them more about that?
Oh yeah, sure. We've on our Facebook page we have a lot of different pictures from the movie, like different frames that, and when I look back over at all these pictures, I'm like, damn, that looks good. We really did a great job with the lighting and capturing different pictures on set, and then we have different quotes from the movie too, and different stuff from the actors. So it's a really good resource if you want to know more about Fang to check it out.
Yeah, you go to Fang : the movie. So if you're on Facebook, it's Fang the movie. So Fang : the movie, or it says @Fang movie. Is that on Twitter?
I don't think we have a Twitter account unless one has been started without my knowledge. But
not for me.
So I do have to ask, Jess, you, in addition to this, you seem to have a pretty professionally done studio that you are in right now. You have a pretty big, bigger life online, and you do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Between the downtime of being an actor, getting that next big gig, it could be a long time. And to be honest, my YouTube show, it's called This Is Jess Paul. It has saved me creatively during this time where I literally haven't gotten into a lift more than twice this month to go anywhere. And so, for anybody who is struggling out there being creative, just try to channel some of that energy into just starting something new right now, because we still might have a few months, try your best to find a way to express yourself and not get lost. And so my show has been going on for, I want to say it's going on 2 years eventually, where I think we're in its second year. And it's a variety show. The way that I came up in the entertainment industry is I started a YouTube show at 19 called Wrecked Radio. And it ended up, reaching a few thousand people, and to the point at least where I've gotten recognized a couple times in public, which is really quite odd. And then evolving from that, I just kind of dove headfirst into doing the thing that I really always wanted to do, which was to be an actor. But sometimes it's like, oh, that's a job that you can just have. Yeah, I'll go be an actor. That makes all the sense in the world.
That's cool. So if you were speaking to your audience right now, which you never know, you might be, but if you're speaking to your audience on your YouTube channel right now and telling them about the film, what would you say?
They have definitely been hearing enough from me about the movie. Hey guys, come like the Fang page.
That's cool.
I would say, guys, this is my most recent, feature film performance. I had a blast. I would love for you to see my work and enjoy the visuals on the way there, and everybody else's performances and the beautiful writing. It'll be a blast. And it coming to a small screen near you.
That's fantastic. Dylan, what about you? What keeps you busy when you're not acting?
So I'm pretty much always finding ways to be an actor. I've been acting for 10 years since I was a little kid. And Fang is definitely the biggest thing that I've done to date. So I can't say I get recognized in the street like Jess does by anybody. But as of right now, I'm working with a very devoted, hardworking theater friend of mine. His name is Ethan Fox. He works out of New York City, and he's been doing a lot of Zoom theater productions, which started as readings, but now he's trying to find ways to make it more interesting.
Wow.
So as of right now, I'm working on a production of Julius Caesar that is being done as a virtual EDM concert. And he cast me as Mark Antony, which is pretty cool. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Virtual EDM concert, Julius Caesar. Boy, I tell you what, this coronavirus shutdown is producing quite a bit of art that we have yet to see. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. it's exciting.
So, and you guys are both in Los Angeles here, so maybe we'll eventually, when we can all get outside, we'll meet up and talk face to face. That'll be cool. Richard, so once you are finished with Fang, you're probably buried completely in post production on Fang. You probably don't have a time to breathe right now. What?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Well, it's kind of funny because it's like, because my mom was in the Army Reserves, and she told me that the saying that everybody in the Army hears is "hurry up and wait." And I think that applies to editing a movie too. It's like you don't have much to do until all of a sudden you have a shit ton of work to do. And it has to be done right now.
That's cool.
So that's kind of what it's like.
Now, Richard, I was just kind of wondering personally, like, who were your inspirations, as a director? I know John Hughes was very heavily involved with Chicago and constantly had that as kind of a background in his movie, kind of like you did. Who were the directors that inspired you?
Well, I think that I would say that I think the three directors who would have been the biggest influence on Fang, in particular, I would start with Alfred Hitchcock. I think Psycho, the mother-son relationship, was definitely an influence for me on the mother-son relationship in Fang. And I would say the other major influence would be David Lynch in terms of the surrealism, the dreamlike kind of ambiguity of, what is real, what is not real. And then I would also say that the third major influence on Fang would be Martin Scorsese. I definitely Taxi Driver, it was always in the back of my head with this kind of, I wanted to be a very kind of gritty urban story of this kind of deranged loner who's on the edge. So I think that's always a good movie to be influenced by.
Yeah, which the movie Joker kind of had a little bit of that Taxi Driver thing as well. Because kind of the way you talked about this definitely kind of has an even more horror version of the movie Joker kind of feel, which he transforms into a creature and everything. Sounds very interesting. Now, I've been really teased with our stills, but it just looks amazing. Can you quickly tell us about the cinematography? Who was the cinematographer and what kind of style you were just going for that? Because it looked beautiful.
Well, my cinematographer was Jason Kranick. He's a local Chicagoan, and with the cinematography, I basically what we did was I came up with I found a bunch of pictures on the internet before we filmed the movie, and I was like, all right, well, I want it to kind of look like this, and he really did a beautiful job bringing it to life. I found him as our cinematographer because I looked up different people, and I'm like, well, he really has a great, eye just visually kind of capturing, the best look for all of these scenes. So I think that was absolutely one of the strong points of the production was the cinematography.
I agree. I loved working with Jason. Sometimes the two of us, because I kind of work a little improvisationally, especially with these more animalistic breakdown scenes. And there were times where he would be like, so what exactly are you doing? I was like, oh. And so he would just kind of work with me. And sometimes it felt like the two of us were dancing, we'd kind of work around the space like this. And it somehow ended up looking beautiful in almost every instance.
You can do a lot with editing, especially if you're transforming and things are happening and all that.
Right.
Well, we are kind of bumping up against the end of the podcast here. I do have to ask you guys, though, just real quick, Dylan, if you had to pick one of your favorite horror movies that you have that's been an influence on your love of horror, what would it be?
Definitely Martin by George A. Romero. I really love that film.
Seriously, that's not what you hear often. Tell us why.
I think I love George A. Romero in general, but I feel like with Martin, he really captured this social wasteland. You have this character who's just he's he's an outcast and introvert, and he's very mentally disturbed and just misunderstood. And you really connect with him on or at least I connect with him on a very deep level. And you pity him and you feel so much there, but it's also this raw and gritty horror film at the same time, but it's very pensive and thoughtful. And I really like that. I really like movies that go a little bit deeper. I love, his Night of the Living Dead series, of course, but for me, I felt like those are, sometimes they're more intellectual and visceral, but Martin really kind of goes, I think, it goes in depth into the character of Martin. And I love that about that film. I've seen it like 7 times this year.
Can I ask you what t-shirt you're wearing? What is that?
This is from the Loft Cinema. It's my favorite movie theater. It's just the best movie theater in the world. It's in Tucson, Arizona, where I went to college. And they have twice every year, they have a all-night Screamarama, which is a 12-hour movie marathon of horror films. And they sell T-shirts, meat cups, like cups full of meats. And they also do trivia, and if you make it to the end of the night, they give you a free ticket to one of their cult films. And it's just one of my most favorite memories of college is going to the Loft Cinema.
That's cool. They do the same thing here. There's an independent theater, I think it's the Arrow Theater. They have an all-night 12-hour showing of films as well. So you'll have to jump on that as well. Well,
you get T-shirts with that.
I don't know. Jess, what about you? What kind of horror movies do you like?
I like a couple different oddball genres. Like, I'm not too much into the slashers, but I love a good ghost story as well as a really convincing found footage. I'm one of those bitches that loves the found footage if it's done right. Yeah, I love all the paranormal activities, and it's not even a guilty pleasure. I think they're very, very clever. And
Thank you.
My all-time favorite horror movie, I always say, is Mama, produced by Guillermo del Toro, and it was the creepy ghost story that I've always wanted but had never seen up until that point. The way that they could use both visual hiding. Are you guys familiar with Mama?
It's not Mother, but which is Aronofsky. It's Mama.
No, Mama.
Yeah.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is it's one of the spookiest major blockbusters that I've ever seen. I love spooky, and it's my time right now, guys.
Happy Halloween. Yeah.
Happy Halloween 2 months early.
Hey, it's never
too early to say Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Wait. So what's your favorite scary movie, Richard?
Yeah.
Well, that is it's always a tough question. I see your little jack-o'-lantern there.
We call them
rubber. It's like rubbery too, I think.
Yeah, it's squishy. I don't remember ordering this. It just showed up in the mail yesterday. Maybe someone just likes me. What about you,
or
Richard?
someone's stalking and wants to come after you.
It's probably not far off the mark.
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite. It's one of those things where for me it always changes depending on my mood, because I have a very intense, relationship with movies. Like, for me, always a movie, like I review movies based on, how I feel when I watch them. If a movie makes me feel intensely, then I like it much more than if it doesn't really make me feel anything. And even if, maybe there's a lot to say for a certain movie that, but if it leaves me indifferent, then, I don't really care if it's like well acted or it's great cinematography or anything else. Because if it doesn't make me feel passionately involved while I'm watching it, then, I'm like, well, fuck that.
Yeah. But what are those more recent ones that have been your more recent favorites?
So I think that's part of why it's so hard for me to pick a favorite, because I have movies that are my favorites, but then after I watch them enough times, I do get very, obsessive with certain movies, and then I watch them.
Name one you've obsessed over lately.
I end up not being as
just give us one, Richard. Just give us one.
Which one have you obsessed over recently?
Okay, so I think what has become my more recent favorite through rewatching it a bunch of times, I would say Reanimator is a movie that I've really come to love more each time I watch it. That is just that is just a really entertaining movie. It's really original, and it's, each time I watch it, I see kind of new layers to these stories. So that has really shot up in status for me.
And the director just passed this last year, right?
Yeah, Stuart Gordon. He was a Chicagoan.
Yeah. He also did Beyond.
Yeah, that was
with the thing out of the head. Yeah, it's an acquired taste. Not everybody can enjoy those films because they are quite excessive in their graphic depictions of things. But hey, guys,
it's very excessive, but it's also like, it's not really dour. It's very energetic and entertaining for me anyway. I guess some people might not be entertained by it.
Nice. Hey, guys, we have so enjoyed this. Listen, more power to independent film, more power to, I always say that the independent horror films, that is where the creativity is coming from. And Jess, you mentioned Paranormal Activity. The first film, $15,000.
Oh yeah.
And went on to just start this wave of found footage that it has not let up yet.
I love it.
Yeah, the original Blair Witch Project, I think it was less than 50,000, went on to make 200 million. And it's not.
If I had a time machine, I would have gone back and started that trend, and then I could bankroll all my future movies.
I'm one of the people that I believe that the further we get into the sequels that are becoming successful, and the bigger the budgets get, the lower the quality gets, because it's all about, because you start losing the storytelling and you start relying on special effects. Jess, it sounds like you're about to agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bigger the budget, the less the creativity. It just starts to melt down.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I think that when you barely have any money to work with, it forces you to get more creative, because like when I wrote Fang, I wrote it so it could be filmed as cheaply as possible without filming it like on an iPhone or something. So I wanted to make it like very kind of limited location, limited cast of characters, but I wanted, I think with a few alterations, this could be a stage play, but I still wanted to make it feel like a movie while you're watching it. So one thing I thought of is like, well, all right, we'll have a bunch of scenes at home, but then I'll kind of cut back and forth from Billy at work and Billy at home to give it more kind of visual variety there, so it doesn't get monotonous.
Mm-hmm. Well, Luke, I have one last question. Why don't you jump in with whatever last question you might have?
Oh, jeez.
Or I'll go.
On the spot.
On the spot. No, because we do have to. We're on Friday night. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I know everybody's got.
We're not going anywhere. We're in quarantine.
Kind of true. This is kind of true. But so if has anybody looked at what's next for you? What other kind of projects you guys have that might be coming up next? Dylan, you can go first.
Well, like I said, I'm working on this digital production of Julius Caesar, and I'm auditioning all the time. I'm auditioning for 2 feature films right now that, I'm working on that. But for the most part, I'm not really sure. Fang is the biggest thing I've done so far, and my career is a big question mark past today.
Hey, you just came to Los Angeles, my friend, recently. That's one of the biggest moves you could do.
Yeah, I have to say I haven't really had as much luck here as I was having in Chicago. There's a lot more push for having like 10,000 Instagram followers already, and I don't have that. I'm not that cute. But no, I really don't know. I'm really open to see what happens. I'm just really interested in projects like Fang. Very artsy, very wonderful, low budget projects that allow me to really flex my acting muscles. That's what I'm hoping for.
Dylan didn't mention that he literally moved here during the shutdown. Like you're like, man, I haven't seen the success that I hoped I would. I'm like, Dylan, we're not doing anything here.
You gotta wait for Fang to come out. Then they're gonna be tearing down your door saying, Dylan, you got to be in our movie.
Yeah. What about you, Jess?
Tomorrow.
What about you, Jess?
Okay, so I have another movie coming out in the very near future, like Fang is scheduled to do. This is maybe March or prior if we have a local premiere, and that movie is called Galatea. I produced it with my friend Benjamin T. Wilson, and he was the director and the writer, and we've been working on that. It's opposite genre of Fang. It's so fun to market these both at the same time because they couldn't be less alike. And then hopefully, you had all those pre-quarantine promises about to go into pre-production, and I have a script called Dead But Whatever. It's not mine. It's by a wonderful filmmaker.
Dead But Whatever?
Dead But Whatever. It's written by Boris Cole, and I like to say it with a certain amount of sass. It's like a sass. It's like Dead But Whatever.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And Richard, have you been able to think outside of Fang recently? Do you know what your next project might be?
I do. Yes, I've been working on this screenplay for about 2 years off and on. It's called Broken Angels. It is a thriller. Basically, the premise is that it's about this guy who lives in Florida. He's a politician. He's campaigning to be elected senator of Florida, and he's very handsome and charismatic. He's great at, he's kind of like the extreme opposite of Billy and Fang. He's very suave and socially adept and great at manipulating people to do what he wants. But then the catch with this character is that he lives a double life as kind of this sadistic, violent predator. So it's kind of, so the script is about kind of these two lives that he lives as this politician. He's very politically correct, very media savvy, and then everything he does in private when there are no cameras.
I love that.
And
it's got that American Psycho.
It has flavors of American Psycho.
To track him down and stop him and his sister, and how they kind of get embroiled into this.
That's cool.
Kind of sick underworld. Well, thank you. Yeah. It is somewhat in the same style as Fang, but a very different setting and characters.
Yeah. I gotta send you a song, Richard.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it reminded me of a song by Scroobius Pip. What's the song called? Serial Killer, maybe? I actually don't remember the name of the song, but the main lyric of the song goes, "My name is Johnny Depp and I kill people," and it just tells a story about cool. This guy who lives a double life as Johnny Depp, but he also murders people. So,
well, I see why that does sound like a good song.
It's gone full Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
Well, Jess and Dylan and Richard, thank you guys so much for coming on the Don't Fear the podcast here on that network. This has been a pleasure. I was when we were setting this up this week, talking with Richard earlier in the week, I was really excited about this. I just love independent horror films. This is where the heart and soul of horror is. All right, so as we end, Richard, if people want to find out more about you, I think that's your phone, right?
No, let me.
Yeah, no, not my phone.
Yeah.
It might be my family's phone.
Oh, so
my bad.
If people want to find out more about your upcoming projects or more about Fang the movie, where do they go to find out about it?
Well, the best place to find updates for Fang is to go to the Fang Facebook page, and the best place to find updates about me would be to go to my Facebook page, or preferably to be my friend, because I don't always post that often. I often get absorbed by different things, and I'm like, oh yeah, there are all these people waiting to hear from me. But I am planning on getting more involved on there in the near future. Once I get all this other stuff I have to do sorted out, I'm going to kind of revamp my online presence and really kind of grab the bull by the horns and say, hey, I'm Richard Burgin. I'm the director of Fang, and you need to know about me.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Dylan, if people want to find out about what's going on with you, where can they follow you?
So you can follow me on Facebook, Dylan @DYLAN LARAY. Also Instagram @Dylan Jess_Laray. And I also have a website through Wix, which is Dylan Laray Film Actor. I don't have the whole HTTPS ... in my brain, but you can find it through my Facebook page or my Instagram.
Awesome. What about you, Jess?
You guys, I'm going to give you the best answer of all. I just remember the name of that song. It's The Struggle by Scroobius Pip. Look it up.
There you go.
But as far as I go, just Google me, guys. Jess Paul. It's like 4 letters. They're times 2, so it's like 8 letters. Just Google me, or This Is Jess Paul. Any of those platforms. Watch my YouTube, guys. That's where I get most creative. If you want to make me happy, if you want to like leave me a comment, I am always on there. So
fantastic. Cheese.
Well, you can find me right here at Cheese on Couch on both Twitter and Instagram, and also on thescareguy.com.
And my name is Jim Fry. Just follow me here at thescareguy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Jim Fry LA, or on Instagram at James D. Fry. But usually just here at thescareguy.com or on our brother site, sister site, brother site. A website, is it a brother or sister? Theconguide.com. So that's where we cover all the fandom news
from the dark secret side, as Richard was talking about. His characters he likes to do. The Scare Guy is the dark secret side of.
We're the dark secret side.
Yeah.
And Richard,
I'm feeling that's where Fang would end up.
Richard, between crazy and creative genius, that's where I want to be. I'm so glad.
There you go.
People on this journey. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for talking to us.
Can't wait to see the film.
Yeah.
I hope you think it's fantastic.
Richard, you have to tell that joke at every single podcast.
No, I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.